What's going on, everybody? This is Jordan with Conquer Trading and Investing. Excited to be here with you all, ready for this session. Nick, buenos dias. Good morning from Denmark. Hey, what a good feeling to be with you this Monday morning. It's going to be an exciting session. There's a lot of moving pieces to talk about. Gabriel, good to see you. Hope you had a good weekend. Olivia, Jackie, what's going on? Woo. All right. What do we want to start off with here? Well, first, we want to give everyone just a minute or two to get in here, and then we'll begin our session. On the calendar, by the way, main event this morning is going to be at 10 o'clock a.m. Eastern time when we have the ISM manufacturing PMI. Dollar has been pretty volatile overnight. We'll take a look at that in a minute. Everyone has probably seen the weekly Forex forecast and analysis where we talked about the upcoming events. Again, Wednesday, we have non-manufacturing ISM. Then we have the ECB on Thursday. That's going to be big for all Euro traders. And then finally on Friday, we have non-farm payroll. Andy, I appreciate that. We're getting ready here. Just want to give everyone just one more minute here to get in here, and then we will begin. Vincent, it is time to get some tacos. All right. So, by the way, before we even get into it, let me start over here for everyone who's here right now. We're going to start with what happened last night. This is a nice breakdown of the E-mini futures, and you can see we gapped down, right? That was because of the riots going on in the US, right? And then all of a sudden, like we've seen so frequently over the past week or so, is that Asia goes ahead and fades the move, and they go ahead and bought and then they turned green. It was unbelievable. The futures turned green with what's going on. Unbelievable. But when we have all of this liquidity floating around, that's what happens. And then we had headlines across the wires that China was halting some imports, putting the phase one trade deal in jeopardy. You also have to watch Signal. Last week, they went ahead and they were purchasing soybeans directly from Brazil. You have to watch what is happening. Chinese have said that they are going to retaliate. This was their first form of retaliation this morning when they went ahead and stopped some imports from farmers. And then again, the futures climbed. All right. Here we are on the charts. Martha, great to see you this morning. I hope you had a good weekend. Hope everyone in the US is staying safe, right? Of course, everyone needs to stay inside. Just to stay home, stay away from all that chaos. Listen, Nicholas, this is a really good question you're asking. He's feeling on the riots going to cause a strong risk-off sentiment in the market. You know, that's obviously so far no. So far they're not. I think that the China situation has the potential to cause a further risk-off situation. It's a little bit unbelievable how the markets are shaking off what's going on inside the US. I assume they feel the National Guard is eventually going to be called in not just select cities, but almost everywhere. And the uprisings are going to be quelled. We'll see. You know, I feel so bad for all retailers, all businesses who just were on the verge of reopening. And now all of a sudden they have to deal with these rioters going ahead and destroying that possibility and stealing. It's absolutely horrendous. But it is what it is. The market seems to be shaking it off so far. I think it's more of a China situation that we're looking at. That's a bigger deal to the markets. And I'm not saying all of the chaos inside the US is not going to add up. I do believe so. I do believe it will. All right, let's kick this off here, looking at what is going on with the S&P 500. And we can see we have 3 down price bars in a row. Now, we did look at the intraday action. We saw how we had a couple of different retraces. Where does that leave us right now? Let's come down to actually a little bit lower of a time frame, and let's focus in on here what we've been looking at. So this trend line, by the way, the upper trend line I'm focusing in, it's coming in last night. This is actually where the markets closed on Friday, was exactly at the resistance at 3,060. We did gap down, right? We came into our local support at 3,009. That's where we peaked. And then we came back up again, testing this area, fading back down. You can see we spike back down. Look at these trend lines. They just keep coming into play. We spike down into the trend line, and we're now in the middle over here. I definitely, you know, it was not just me. The markets are red right now, barely. There's no question right now that what we're looking at is that there's no question what we're looking at here is a bit of a negative bias. The question is the market going to be able to shake that off once again, right? So just give yourself situational awareness, right? Military, situational awareness. Where are you? We're having a little bit of trouble here in this area. This is right now a sell area, right? As we get up into this area, that's where you definitely want to be looking to go ahead and look to fade this. I'm going to call it nonsense. It's strong, strong, strong buy side pressure. Everyone is starting to get a little bit euphoric where you know, if you're not buying, you're on the wrong side of the trade and you don't know what's going on, and you know that's retail gets a little bit of emotional. I've checked around me. I've checked around from people within the industry, right? Everyone's reading it the way I'm reading it. So eventually we're going to see things catch up, right? If the market wants to go higher, we're going to fight it. Well, that's all relative. All right. So what are we looking for today on an intraday basis, though, if we're looking for anything intraday, right? There's a bit of a negative bias. What do? I like to watch what's going on in the news and then see how the market reacts. If the market shakes this off today, that's enormous. You can't fight that type of signal. This is the weak part right here, all the way down below this line. This has been our local support, and it continues to hold over here. Trading below that, then we're going to say, okay, everything is catching up to the market right now. You have this trend line over here. That's your first indication to break below that trend line that things are weakening. Right now, no question about it. We are simply in no man's land. I personally am not looking for any buy side trades today whatsoever. If we break this trend line, I'm going to start watching intently. Below here, if things start falling apart and with fury, meaning in the first hour and a half or so of trading, as the U.S. equity markets open up in 25 minutes, if we start seeing momentum, selling momentum, that's going to be attractive to me. Otherwise, I'm going to wait this session out. Let's keep going. We have a lot to look at this morning. Thomas, good to see you. Jordan. Miguel, Tim. All right, let's keep going over here. I want to look at gold. Gold actually caught me a little off guard. I didn't realize that it had traded up so high overnight and then retraced so far. I don't like this bit of price action I'm seeing over here right now. And I'm going ahead and I'm actually firming up my stop. I had moved my stop up to 17.20. And now I'm actually moving that up, and I'm going to move that up, you know, well, not exactly sure. Yeah, 17.28 is where I'm going to move my stop. I'll jump back in there really quick, but we're going to start moving forward right now. Do I think there's strong support at 3,000? I don't have anything whatsoever at 3,000. No, I don't think there's strong support over there at 3,000. I think just above 3,000, we got this little bit right here of local support, definitely, right? So it's at 3,009. I don't think there's anything at 3,000. We got some nice support down at 29.72 though. Look over here, you can see, or you know, up in, yeah, call it 29.72 to the 29.80 area. That's an area to watch. Nothing at the whole number 3,000. All right, so here we go. Back to gold. I don't like the price action. Definitely. Once we took out the 1735, that was quite bullish, but we've since retraced under it, right? I'm getting ready here to just take some profit. I know it's above the support over here at 1723. That's okay. As far as getting back into this, just going to stand back right now. Once I get out, if I get out of trade, once I get out of the trade, I like to move aside. Silver is looking better. Silver's looking a little bit better. It's looking very nice above this breakout. So the next thing to do on silver, though, is watch for a little bit of consolidation. If we come back and retest either one of these broken resistances, whether it's 1763 or down at 1740, those are both attractive places to watch to see if they hold and we resume off of it. And if we do, those look like nice buying opportunities here on silver. I will be surprised. I know it's contrary to everyone else you hear. I will be surprised in the near term if silver starts outperforming gold. Nevertheless, I'm not going to fight the tape. I like silver's price action over the last week or so. So I'm going here now and I'm starting to watch it and follow it. All right, DXY. By the way, I think at the end of this session, when I say end of the session, after we go over all of our FX currency pairs, I'm going to come back and I'm going to go over and talk about crypto for a second, get into the different altcoins. Now, as we're getting ready to enter this bull market phase, the question definitely comes up. Well, is there anything else besides Bitcoin, right? And, I've noted before, right, that Tezos and Linked, I think, are going to be the leaders in this next altcoin cycle. And you can see them today outperforming everything else. And also, I think Ethereum is going to perform well. I'm sorry, I don't think XRP is going to. But we'll take a look at all of that later in the session. And we'll come back to Bitcoin as well. Right now, Bitcoin continues in its holding pattern. And when I say holding pattern, first of all, deeper perspective, this is the upper resistance. This is the lower trendline support. We're in the middle between them both. And then in between that, you could see these two yellow trend lines over there. And we're just consolidating. Is Bitcoin getting ready for a big move? Do I think it's going to be to the downside? I do not think so. I think that the chances of a big dump have continued to lessen. I don't think that's going to happen. I do think that the next big move is going to be to the upside. As soon as we cross that trend line, it is on. All right. So trend indicators, right? So, throughout my journey in 20 years, I have relied on and looked in heavily into indicators. No question about it, starting with moving averages in the very beginning. Listen, the thing is I focus only on price. I focus on price. Price is everything. Price is the only non-lagging indicator. And aside from that, I use the market structure of support and resistance, right, with the help of trend lines to trade that price off of. It's the single most effective thing you can do, and it'll change your trading forever. It's up to you. You got to give up on your indicators. They don't help you. All right. Yeah, Tim, the large reason of why I think that the chances have lessened and lessened of Bitcoin dumping is definitely the grayscale factor. There's no question about it. This is unbelievable. Since the halving, Grayscale has bought up not only all the mined Bitcoin, but almost 50% more than that. Unbelievable. You have one on-ramp going ahead and buying all of the new supply being put onto the market. That is actually unbelievable. And then you also have Square's Cash App, which also is doing the same thing. Between those two on-ramps, all of the demand for Bitcoin is absolutely, it's a game changer. We're going to see that priced in shortly. Yeah, Ready Steady, you could use, and you could rely on the RSI, you could use the CC, you could use anything you need, right? But at the end of the day, it's just confusing you. You don't need it. You don't need it at all. You're relying on something that's not giving you an edge. Yep. Gemma and Satoshi Flipper has also been on the wrong side of the market for the past few weeks. So, he's also been on the market the wrong side of the market the last few weeks. And he just kind of falls back to every time, Bitcoin moves against him. Well, I have a bunch of physical Bitcoin I own, so I didn't really lose money. Okay. But, he's a little off right now. That's right, Tim. Let's go get it. Let's go get it. So DXY, is this a fake out? That's a really good. And Gemma, by the way, Gemma, I respect his game a lot. I do, because he does actually the same exact thing I do. He relies on price and support and resistance. Now, I did call him out for having the wrong trend line. I did call him out for having the wrong trend line right over here, the upper trend line. Yeah, and I made him aware that he had that wrong. I think that, you know, listen, you can't argue. He's a good trader. That's why I pointed him out to everyone. Respect him. But you know, when you're hedging, sure, you kind of build up a bias. We all do it. Listen, you could hear, it's easy to say that you can't have a bias in trading, or you shouldn't, right? And yes, you should not have a bias. But listen, at the end of the day, if you're thinking that you're immune from being able to have a bias, you're lying to yourself, right? I know that I try to fight having a bias. I like to look at both sides, but there's no question that sometimes my bias affects me. And that's normal. That's normal for everyone. Ralph, before I get into the DXY, and I want to get into the DXY right now. Davidson. I noticed all your support and resistance marked on all your currency and Bitcoin. Just wondering if you go through each currency and mark a line through each trade. Yeah, I go through each currency every day. I do. All right, we're going to start here with the DXY. We're going to keep on going. We're going to keep on flowing. Gemma, by the way, I wanted to name one of my kids Gemma so bad that my wife wouldn't allow me, but that was my go-to. Here we are at DXY, and is this a fake breakout over here? Listen, this is really tough. I was looking at this morning, and you know, this is like a trader's nightmare almost. This is almost a trader's nightmare. We have this fake breakout over here, unquestioned, right? Unquestionably, we had that fake breakout over there. That was tough to trade. And now what's happening over here? We're definitely seeing a bit of a war. Is it too soon to say that this is a fake breakout? I think so. I think it's too soon. My question is well, when do we say that it's a breakdown? Right? It's twice now we've tested this support over here at 97.90. That's twice we've tested that. So if we start breaking down below that, I think then we can say that we've confirmed a breakdown and that it's going to go ahead and bleed out. Right now, listen, this session is so important. This session is so important here as the New York traders come to their desks right now. U.S. equities market are open in about 12 minutes, and we're going to see what happens. I've been talking about the rising tensions between U.S. and China, and the market has not been pricing that in. There's no question about that. And you can't fight the tape. You need to follow what the market's doing. At the same time, we saw what happened on Friday during the press conference when Trump went ahead and basically was all verbal, but basically declared his platform for the 2020 election is going to be a further escalation against China. China said that they're going to retaliate. They already did this morning. They've called off farm purchases. I think there's going to be more, possibly even today. You have to be really aware of risk off today. So we're going to look at that and see if there's any opportunity actually on the Australian dollar, US dollar, Australian dollar, Japanese yen. They're on the verge of possibly not being able to hold a break above resistance. They might be offering opportunity. Is this a double bottom? That to me is not a double bottom, but we're coming up into this area over here, right? Is a possibility that's going to hold and we get back in? Listen, I don't know. ECB is also meeting on Thursday. That could definitely affect the dollar as well. Listen, I'm on the sidelines. I'm skeptical. I'm not sure what's going to happen over here. Let's see what happens later this session. She always wins. There's no question about it. Anaya, what do we got from Trump? Another press conference today? Does anyone know what that's about? All right. Let's keep going over here this morning. And by the way, can I just get a sound check? Can I get a sound check? How do we sound here this morning? I want to make sure that everything's okay. WTI we need to look at this morning. That looks like a failed. Wow, that becomes actually interesting this morning. This becomes interesting right now. I know, and I've told you that I've been waiting for us to see if we close this gap and come higher. Really, Brian? You know what? Brian, I want to come back to that comment in just a second. By the way, when I talk about risk on, risk off, OMS, that's really, really just do a quick search on a different browser and just go ahead and just read a few different articles about what risk on, risk off means in the markets, especially in the currency markets. That's going to be really helpful. Thanks everyone for the confirmation that we sound really good today. Feeling really comfortable. I have a backup stream now. It's not easy on a Mac like it is on a Windows where there's so many options. But what happened last week, last Thursday, won't happen again. We now have a backup to go to. That's all good. Listen, just my own personal opinion when it comes to what's going on. I feel like we are definitely in a disinformation war, and it's hard to know which narrative to follow. Thank God for Twitter and being able to see what's happening on the ground as everyone is posting videos, and you kind of get a way to filter out what's true and what's not. But at the same time, listen, it is don't trust, verify. All right. So yeah, Baby Pips is a fantastic site. If you don't know basic things, like what is a pip, how to draw a trend line, what is support and resistance, Baby Pips is fantastic for learning the terminology and whatever else they offer. Back to WTI though, listen, why I wasn't looking for a trade here, why this looks interesting to me right now is because at this resistance, we're now being rejected. And what that means is that right now your risk to reward is a favorable trade. We're in a downtrend. We're in a huge bear market right here on oil. And now over here, as we're resuming off this resistance, it definitely looks attractive. Even coming down into this new area of support that's forming around 31.66. Let's draw that in because that is a new area of support that the market is focusing in on. Your risk to reward is pretty nice. Oh. That's interesting, Gemma. That's really interesting. Greg, we'll look back in the S&P in about 15 minutes. The first thing we did is look at the S&P 500. As the U.S. equity markets open, we'll come back and check into them. That's for sure. So this is going on my watch list over here for today. All right. Euro US dollar. What's going on? DXY trade happening right here. It's the same price action in reverse. Everyone can see that, right? So again, as the DXY is coming back up into that strong area of importance, whether it gets back into its trading range channel or if it's rejected, the same thing is happening here on the Euro US dollar. Euro traders, you do have the ECB meeting on Thursday. That and its press conference are definitely high impact news events to be worried about. Right now, is anyone going here? I'm not looking to take the long over here, but that could change after today's price action. Let's see what happens today during New York. Let's see what New York does with it. The ball's in their court. Is that a fake breakdown? Maybe, John. Yep, definitely looking at the Australian dollar, US dollar, and Australian dollar, Japanese yen. So, yeah, you know what though, Jackie? Sometimes you got to you got to be preemptive of the move, though. Sometimes you got to be preemptive of the move. Listen, since over here, since April, the end of April. Oh no, I'm sorry. So, yeah, since the end of April, I've been completely on the sidelines from oil, waiting for this to develop. First time I like it, and I do like it right over here. You got to be preemptive sometimes, right? What do I mean by preemptive? Well, if OPEC's meeting, right? You see price has been sideways now for quite a while, right? After two fake breaks off the resistance, and then taking all of those stops out and now rolling over again. Listen, I know a setup when I see it. The risk to reward is nice. All right, boom, bam. Let's keep going. Important session here for the euro. That's not tradable just yet. That could be as early as London know if we do hold and start resuming up. No question about it. Here's what I wanted to look at the Australian dollar, US dollar. So we could see a couple of things happening over here. First thing we see is that we talked about this exact level in the weekly Forex forecast. This is where we came up into this upper trend line resistance. Price has been rejected and is now trading below this resistance here at 0.6742, right? That so far is being rejected. So it's going to be important to see whether or not this continue holds and we start making lower lows. Is the Australian dollar, US dollar, the pair that we might want to play a switch off into risk off? I don't know. I'm going to keep it on my watch list. I'm going to reevaluate in just a little bit. Australian dollar, Canadian dollar. Wow, that wound up actually taking off really nice. I want to reuse this as an opportunity to review something. And what I'm looking at is over here. Once we broke above that resistance, I didn't like the price action over here. It was sideways throughout this whole area and then started being sideways. I just avoided it. We broke down. Here's what I want to see where we broke down to, right? Here's where I erred. Here's where I was not on the ball. I could see over here, I'm putting my mouse down where that stopped and looked left. And you could see that whole area. You could see that it was over here. It was support. Over here, it was resistance. That's a level we should have been focusing in on, right? You could see the resistance right here. You could see resistance, right? Resistance again. That was a level that I slept on and I should have been more aware of. The reason I look at this is where my trading makes the biggest improvements. This is right here when I fail on seeing a setup and being able to trade it correctly and then go back and look at it. That is where I make the greatest improvements in my trading. I'm just staring at this 1 second longer to really make take note of this inside my head. This is really important over here. All right. Yeah, we're going to look at everything. So Australian dollar, Swiss franc. Now, I'm kind of a proponent right now. I see that the Swiss central bank is intervening, trying to weaken the Swiss franc. So I believe as we go risk off, I'm not saying that I'm right, but what I'm going to lean towards is taking risk off, playing the Japanese yen and the US dollar. If we continue going risk on, right, then maybe continue to look to play against the Swiss franc because of that. But I don't see anything happening today on this pair. That's because if we're rolling over to risk off, again, I want that to be on the Australian dollar or the Japanese yen. Dollar looks a little bit healthier. This pair is also right now in play. And why do I say that? Thomas, absolutely. You know what you're seeing is again that tight correlation between the U.S. Dollar, Mexican peso, and the U.S. equity markets. And if we start to go again, really risk off, which that's not happening. That's not happening right now whatsoever. Could that happen? Well, we want to be aware of that. If that does happen, U.S. dollar, Mexican peso long is a fantastic play. Yeah, the Swiss are always messing with their currency, and that's why I stay away from the euro, Swiss franc for sure. Look over here at the Australian dollar, Japanese yen. Look at this area right here. This is resistance. We're coming to it. It looks like we broke out above it, and now we're having trouble. Whether or not we're able to maintain that breakout, we're going to find out today. Looking at the two, though, I have to say I lean today towards Australian dollar, US dollar, if it's able not to hold that level and start making lower lows, of the possibility of the dollar coming back into that trading range. So what about to the long side over here? If risk remains on and we're able to go ahead, getting above this trend line over here, you could see it, boom. Here was resistance, 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 broke it, right? So if we're able to get above and hold this breakout today above this this resistance at 72.35, and then able to go back, get a nice test of it, not only of this horizontal trend line, make sure we flip that to support, but also this rising trend line, that should now be support. We haven't tested that yet. Resistance, resistance, resistance. We haven't really tested it yet. That might be an area, that will be an area to look to the long side here. So it looks like for right now, I'm seeing if we go risk off, it's Australian dollar, US dollar short. If we stay risk on, Australian dollar, Japanese yen long. So JC, I don't, what currencies are safer to trade during high volatility periods? During the last crisis, which was extraordinary high volatility, the pair to be focused on, the pair to be focused on was absolutely Japanese yen pairs and also Swiss franc pairs, and trading them against the Australian dollar and New Zealand dollar. That's where I made most of my money. That's where the longest trades I was able to hold on to were on. And those are, you know, safe is relative, but those are the pairs to play. All right, so here we go. So that's a really good question to just pause for a second before we look at the euro Japanese yen. And the question is, the dollar is always considered a safe haven, but how could the US be considered safe? So the reason the dollar is considered a safe haven is for multiple reasons. But the most important, you have to remember, the last crisis that we just went through, and when I say just went through, right, it was a couple of months ago, that was a dollar shortage liquidity crisis. And what that means is because we're in a US dollar based debt system, there simply were not enough US dollars. People need these US dollars. They need them for trade. And they also need it to service their debt, not only the principal, but the interest. So there's more than anything else in the world, there's an absolute need for dollars. And when there's not enough of them, right, that causes problems. That's why you get that flight to safety into the US dollar. Because until it's no longer a dollar system, it's a dollar-based system. People need those dollars. Flight to safety means that you need those dollars. You're not at that point. You're not going. What is the Australian dollar going to do for you? Think about it. So that's why you see that flight into the U.S. dollars. Now, eventually, will people lose faith in the United States government and or the U.S. dollar? People are already trying to definitely, you can't really move away from it. People are doing their best. Russia has done the best job in moving away from the US dollar system. They no longer hold treasuries. They hold a bunch of gold. They have a bunch of resources. They still need to trade oil for dollars, though. All right, what's going on? I see a lot of talk about the ruble. Let's take a look at it. Well, the first thing I'm looking at is what happened. This was during the dollar crisis. I want to take a look on the monthly really quick. See the last time we were up there. This is when the U.S. started imposing sanctions, right? There's definitely a nice swamp here, right? I don't know, I'm not looking to take a trade on it. I try to stay away from the exotics for sure, but right now, as this is drawing my attention, man, this is where you've been in the move. You don't get into here now, right? Nice looking chart, but listen, when we talk about what's safe and what's volatile, as a new trader, you kind of think that you need opportunity. Yeah, we'll talk Tesla. You need volatility to make money. This is absolutely not true. Another fallacy is that you need, by trading smaller time frames, I'll take more trades and therefore have the potential to make more money. That's also not true. That's also a fallacy. Over trading is one of the biggest reasons that traders lose money. And then the second is trading volatile markets. You want to trade with clarity. You want to avoid volatility and trade with clarity. All right, let's check out Tesla, and then we'll go back into take a look at what's going on. U.S. equity markets have opened. Markets trading down a little bit, not towards the level that we're interested in. Tesla trading up probably right now on SpaceX news. This is not, when I say SpaceX news, this is probably like Elon bid right here, because I have, any way you look at it, Elon has, rubbed people the right way and the wrong way, especially over the last year. His tweeting is a little bit out of control, no question about it. I think he gained back some respect and faith over the weekend with the successful launch of SpaceX, of Dragon. There's no question about that. I think that's what we're seeing happen over today. But listen, don't buy into it just yet, right? We've talked about clearing back above this resistance. If you're able to flip that into support, that could be an area to look. Watch what happens as we come into the resistance today. More importantly, watch what happens if we trade below the opening over here. You got the low over here at 854. This is not a reason if you look at what's going on fundamentally with Tesla, there were reports, first of all, they've lowered prices, right, across all their models. And then you're seeing that they're having faster deliveries. I forgot which model. There's no demand right now for Teslas. What you're seeing here is an emotional bid by retail traders because of the successful launch. So if you are a day trader, and if you were a day trader that traded stocks, watch what happens if you take out today's low over here. That's where it would get interesting. All right. We wanted to check out the Euro Japanese yen before we start moving in further. Again, watch where we peaked out, move to the left. Do I see any type of levels over there? I could see over here, that's the same area. Here we were support, here we were resistance, here we were support, here we were resistance, here we were support. It's a level that belongs on the chart, no question about it, right? The more important level, though, is the one below it, the one coming at 119.68. If we have on the verge of holding that breakout, you can see we already peaked below it. We're coming back and resuming down. What do you make of it? What do you make of it? We got the ECB meeting later this week. We are definitely up into an area of resistance overhead. Of course, it becomes uber attractive all the way up here. Are we going to make it? Is this the time to lean in? I wonder what's going on with Zoom. I wonder if they're increasing their user base, if users are starting to decrease. I wonder what's going on. I wonder if that becomes a play in the fall as the second wave approaches and we go to further lockdowns. I'm not sure. We'll have to wait and see. We're going to get into, so by the way, anyone have any opinions here on the Euro Japanese yen? It's at a pretty important level. Probing right now to the downside. So far holding this later today, this resistance at 119.68 could be flipped to support, or we could start trading below it. I don't know. It continues to be on my watch list. That's for sure. Why don't you get the pound US dollar this morning? Pound US dollar coming into an area. So the dollar is so tricky right now. When I say tricky right now, because you could see everything against the dollar is coming into an area of resistance. Watching that in the Australian dollar, US dollar, here on the pound US dollar, similar situation. We're coming down, we're coming up into an area where the risk reward gets attractive. We have to really start breaking above this horizontal, this trend line resistance over here. I don't know if that's the best place for it. Let me move down a little bit. This trend line resistance and this horizontal resistance up here for this to become bullish. So this goes on the watch list, actually. A lot of US dollars pairs picking up on the watch list. I have to be aware of that. That's a good call, Luciano. I like that. I'm also very curious what happens. Gold come back up. I have my stop loss in now to be able to, on the verge of locking in profit if that happens. We'll see. Let's check in on the S&P now. We've been open here for 10 months. Let's drop down to a lower time frame to see what's going on over here. And let me clean up the chart here for you. All right. So watching this trend line over here is the first indication that this is then breaking down. This is this yellow line that's highlighted. This is the area where sellers will be gaining control. You could see that overnight. They peaked below it, right? Wicked below it. It didn't hold. Below that area, below 3009 is the point that we start getting weak. What happens if we take out this trend line over here? What happens if we take out this trend line and flip that to support? That's a trade to watch. Look over here. We're seeing lower highs, right? 1, 2, 3, 4. Are we also seeing higher lows? Yeah. This is a nice pattern. That's a consolidation pattern in between no man's land. That's getting ready for a big move. We'll see. We'll watch it both ways. Yeah, ready, steady. I mean, I feel like we might be switching to risk off, but if that risk on continues, I want to attack. I want to wait for an entry over here on the Australian dollar, Japanese yen. Again, that's not today during this session, but this is the pair that I'm going to be watching if risk on continues. And listen, the markets can remain irrational. Riots are going on in the U.S., China retaliating versus the U.S. raising their sabers. That's right, Tim. Let's see what the dollar is going to key off of that. That's coming up in 20 minutes. We'll check back in on that for sure. All right, let's see what else is interesting. Let's check back in on the U.S. dollar, Mexican peso. And she continues to look pretty bad. The first indication that things are turning will be getting back inside that trend line, that channel. Here's that trend line right there. This is acting as resistance all the way on the way down. Look, this was the support over here. Once it broke, it was retested and continues to act as resistance, right? A break above there is a preemptive entry, time to get long. I have to admit, the peso back down at 22. Starting to become attractive. We'll have to keep watching and see. US dollar, Japanese yen, we didn't check out yet this morning. We have a lot to go through before, and then we'll get into, we looked at crude, right? US dollar, Japanese yen continues to trade sideways between this resistance here at 108.10 and this support over here at 106.97. Stay away from a sideways market like this. There's absolutely no edge. Of course, a break above or below might open up potentials, but you're just dealing with two currency pairs that are too tightly correlated at the moment. So that means whether or not you're seeing risk on or risk off, you're either seeing strength versus strength or weakness versus weakness. No edge here looking at that. Boom, 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 boom. All right. So let's keep this going because there's got to be more potential out there, and I want to find out where it is so that I can get involved. I want to look at the US dollar, Canadian dollar. Nothing to see or say here, even coming off that support. What about the US Canadian dollar, Japanese yen? Is that offering us any opportunity? All right. Breaking above the resistance out of here. We've been in, look at that. So again, this was not on my radar, but this was the trade. Right back. Any test of a trend like that is successful. This always leads to beautiful moves. This is right here one of my favorite setups. It's a trend line break that comes back and retests it. One of the most beautiful ones that you could see of recent memory happened on gold. If you come back and you look at what happened, right back here. Look at this. Here's the trend line. Let me move this out of the way. Here was the breakout. This looks like the Canadian dollar, Japanese yen. You see it? Came back into the trend line, and then boom. This is what set off the bull market on gold. S&P, don't forget, is in a tight trading range right now. All right. Unbelievable. Unbelievable that it does keep ignoring all that bad news. All right. Here we go. A lot of traders are looking at Zoom this morning, right? Wow. What the? That thing looks like SpaceX or what is Richard Branson's Galactica? Triple Q is positive. What does that mean? Swiss central bank at it. All right, let's keep going over here. By the way, US dollar, Swiss franc. Swiss franc has been making some moves against the dollar, right? This, you could see, it's kind of like the DXY. Is this a false break right now? I don't know. You know, the dollar's tricky. This is a very important session. In about 15 minutes, we have the ISM manufacturing. That could set the tone for the dollar. So watch that really quick. That's all right. Good, nice taking profit. It's a good trade on that long Zoom, by the way. Virgin Galactic. Boom. Virgin Galactic. SpaceX. Huge mission over the weekend. 39. We got this number coming up at the top of the hour over here. You got to keep it interesting in here, Juan. You got to keep it interesting in here. I feel like I have so much to go through, but they keep buying the dip. Before we do that, before we get into the rest of these pairs, I want to give a little bit of time here for the manufacturing numbers to come out over here. Don't forget, everything's going to pause right now waiting for that number. Let's take a look at Bitcoin and crypto, because rightfully so, the question that really comes up right now, by the way, where are we in the stream? We're about 48 minutes into there. By the way, anyone who's gone ahead and hit that like button this morning as we get started on our Monday, thank you so much. I do appreciate that show of support. Here we are. And the question is, because we are getting ready, we are so close to entering this bull market here on cryptocurrencies. Yeah, probably the next 6 months so is going to see some nice growth and price action. And it probably will start getting crazy next year into 2021. Now, no problem at all, Mario. The question is, you know, are we going to see an alt season? Will alts outperform Bitcoin? And which alts should I be focused in on? Right now, you know, let me preface this by saying is I do not focus at all on altcoins. There are some people who are able and spend a lot of their time actually going through and researching, you know, there's so many different options out there, looking for opportunities that are tradable, right? The thing is, at the end of the day, you don't want to get caught holding, you know, it's like musical chairs. You don't want to get caught holding any of those, right? Bitcoin, on the other hand, that's something like gold, like silver, you want to own in your portfolio, right? Especially as we're going toward this bull market phase. Now, I do believe that there will be an alt season. I do believe that this cycle, there will be an alt season. And I do believe that many altcoins will outperform Bitcoin, meaning if you hold Ethereum over the next 18 months, that will probably outperform Bitcoin. Let's look at Ethereum BTC. Let's look at a monthly chart, right? Wow. I mean, do I think that by a large scale Ethereum is going to outperform Bitcoin? I think there's a good possibility of that, right? Do I want to go ahead? Do I think we could come up and trade back towards, you know, this level, or perhaps even up here towards this level, or even higher? I do. I think that's possible, and I think it's also probable. At the same time, I'm not going to trade Ethereum against Bitcoin. The reason being is because Bitcoin, again, you want to go where there's clarity. And when I say you want to go towards there's clarity, I mean, in Bitcoin is a more mature market where there is more clarity. And you could trade Bitcoin with a little bit of leverage, whether it's 3 times or 5 times. And then at that point, you're actually able to make the same amount of returns you could on an altcoin. Now, some people still, they get, a lot of people are believers in projects such as Ethereum, right? A lot of people are believers in XRP. That's a whole different story. Monero has a huge use case of privacy. And I think right now in this bull run, that's going to pay off. And I think that's going to be, that's going to offer nice opportunities. I do also think that that Link and Tezos are gonna go right here, and they have been over the past 6 months so the leaders. I think as we enter into this new altcoin season, I do think there's going to be an altcoin season. I don't think that's actually going to be. It usually lags the bull market of Bitcoin by about 6 months. The reason for that is I've looked at all the past altcoin cycles. It usually lags Bitcoin by 6 months. And that's because that's when you start hearing Bitcoin. And then everyone is like, oh my goodness, I missed Bitcoin. Where could I put my money? Blurry. All right. Let's go back into the goods. We have about 10 minutes now to the number. So as far as storing and listen, before you start storing you got to do your research. There's so much information out there. Storing coins online doesn't really make sense. BlockFi does. BlockFi is. I've recently started using them. I'm a believer in them. You have to store coins online with them, right? So what do you have to do? You have to whitelist an address. You have to use 2-factor authorization. But you have things like, offline hardware wallets, whether it's Trezor or Ledger, both good options. A lot of people use Cold Card. I think Trezor is the best option. There's a very technical reason why there's advantage over Trezor, over Ledger and Cold Card. But nevertheless, all 3 of those are fantastic options. What's his name? Michael Novogratz. Michael Novogratz, I believe in Canada, owns Galaxy something or other fund, which is a play on basically the crypto market. All right, let's keep going. By the way, we're in a holding pattern for the next 10 minutes or so. All right, let's be aware. Wow. I mean, and Ethereum put on quite a run last time. There's no question about that. Ethereum has we were blurry. Ethereum has amazing developers. It has amazing marketers behind it, and it's got 2 amazing founders. So Ethereum has a lot going for it. That's for sure. All right. So by the way, Grayscale does have an Ethereum fund. Grayscale has an Ethereum fund. They also have, I believe, Litecoin and XRP. All right, here we go. I got a little sidetracked about where we were in the flow, and that's because we're waiting a little bit. I want to check back on the Australian dollar, US dollar. Let's see what that's doing. Again, it's in jeopardy of being rejected here by this upper resistance. And if it fails against this resistance line here, it does become attractive. It does become attractive. I'm waiting to see whether or not we see any type of retaliation today for China. Dollar off again this morning. Again, awaiting those news. We're just trying to get a little bit of a situational awareness. And that means for the next 10 minutes, just watching how price reacts. All right, this is an important time to be watching the markets over here. And we'll check back in about 6-7 minutes to see what the report was. We'll also watch how the dollar's reaction is at the time of the print, We're not going to be watching the calendar to see what they come in. We're going to be watching the DXY at that point to see what happens. Eva, I don't know, looking for a new broker. There's so many great brokers in foreign exchange. It's unbelievable. It depends on what country you're based at. US obviously offers few options compared to the rest of the world, which offers so many. Yeah, Don, that's a really good question. I get all of my news from a few different sources. First of all, from Twitter. After that, Forex Live, which is a fantastic RSS feed basically of news. If I see the market jump, I go to Forex Live right away, and then I'll see what happened really quick. They're very good on that. The other thing that I do listen to is Real Vision. This weekend, I actually got to watch 2 interviews over the weekend, which was a joy for me. And then also Zero Hedge. Those are all the sources I use to get my information personally. Yep, probably it's a great source right there. My FX book has a RS feed, but you don't need too many, right? They're all basically reporting the same amount of news. All right, so about 5 minutes in over here, US dollar, Japanese yen remains sideways. New Zealand dollar, US dollar, basing out well nicely off of that support. You can see across the board that it looks like this risk on move has the potential to hold. We've seen unbelievable resilience here versus the S&P. But if you notice the turn, if you notice what's happening right now in the markets, if you're following, comments in Twitter from the retail traders are all under the impression that they can't lose going long the market at this point. It's almost universal. Retail traders believe they can't lose going long the market over here. You look at professional traders and every single one of them over here, why they can't believe, even last night, seeing the futures go green, they believe it makes no sense. They are not only cautious, every single one of them is holding to their belief that the markets over here are going to run into a lot of trouble. They got in the description below, we got some crypto brokers that are all definitely useful, recommended. A new one though that I have to definitely say that I've just recently started using and highly recommend is BlockFi. So you don't know if this is at all the lever development happened, but perhaps this is why the Swiss bank has been they've been pouring money. We looked at that on the on Saturday's video on the S&P. They've been pouring money into all tech, not just Facebook. All right, so we got 3 minutes. We're going to be watching the DXY, FXL. What's FXL? Yeah, I think so, Patrick. I definitely think so. We're waiting for it. We're watching it. Forex Live. Yeah, they're fantastic. They really are. They're fantastic for news, 100%. Definitely like and support them. Yep, here it is. It's forexlive.com. All right, expectations for a small beat of 43. So if there's a big miss, that's definitely going to send the dollar down, in my opinion, right? We're watching this area over here of 97.90, the low of today, the low of Friday, big areas over here. All right. Pound US dollar is in my opinion, possibly setting up for a possible sell. We have a couple of minutes. We could take a look at that. When I say possible sell, you see I put it yellow as I'm watching that today as we come up into this resistance. If we're able to go ahead and get rejected by this resistance and then start trading back below this horizontal resistance at 1.2416, if that's a fake breakout over here above this resistance, and then we start turning back into it, the trade back down into the next area of support, and this trend line support is very attractive. All right, I'm just going to watch the price action over here. Watch how the dollar reacts. At the same time, I'm watching the S&P up here. You can see the S&P waiting for the number. It's dead center in the consolidation. Dead center in the consolidation in no man's land, waiting. Let's see if we get a nice market reaction over here one way or the other. It's more important to watch how price reacts rather than the newsprint. And then afterwards, you check the newsprint to see what it was. Thanks, Patrick. Thanks for sharing that love. Thanks for that support. I do appreciate that very much. Sal, tools for trading. You just need your charts, just the charts. That's the best tool for trading, is just the charts, just looking at price. So basically it was a non-event there right now. Still watching price to see what it does. S&P so far a couple of points off. DXY is not really moved. Now, by the way, there's no question about it. Anytime you see a newsprint, you got to wait 10 minutes out to see how the market's reacting off of it. Don't get caught up into the initial emotion. Gold tank, get off of that. Yep. I just took out my 128 stop loss. All right, here comes the dollar. Let's see. By the way, I want to see what that print was. It's very a little stuck there. Come on. All righty. Back there, didn't miss anything. Price is exactly where we left off. Gold took my stop out and is now trading back up a couple of dollars.
You got a blank screen, everyone? I could see. Thomas, confirm that over there. Yeah, we got backup stream. The internet just kicked out there for a second. TIM. No screen. Bear with us 1 second over here. We'll figure this out. TIM. All right, hold on. I'll fix that out right now. Zoom. All right, no problem. Should be back on right now, right? Boom. DJ, hold on. I went live. We'll just wait for like a 10-15 second delay and see if you come back on with the screen. And then if not, I do have a backup stream, no problem. All right. All right, all good. Sorry about that, right? Sorry about that. Here we are. Let's take a look at the S&P, which is rising a little bit ever since that ISM numbers right here. Do we read into it? Not yet. Not yet. What's got to happen for us to get really bullish over here? Are we going to see the indices turn all green today? Well, that would not surprise me, but just go ahead and give yourself a little bit of a guide, right? And you're seeing those lower highs. There's that trend line. A break above there will signal the fact that this thing might go ahead and take out Friday's high where we closed. But right now, let's give it a little bit. All right, let's give it a little bit. All right, so screen showing, but no audio. Yep. Boom. All right. I think now we're all good. Sorry about that. Anastasia, what trade? I haven't taken a trade today. I just exited my gold trade today. I exited my gold down at 17.28. Wow. I thank you all for your patience and kindness. I really do. S&P here, by the way, again, it's trading a few points off since the news. You have to wait a little bit to see how the market's really going to react. This little trend line here for intraday traders, get above there. And at that point, we could say that, yeah, now the markets have an opportunity here to go ahead and look at and test Friday's high. And would any of us be surprised if they took it out? No question about it. But right now, we're still consolidating. Don't get faked into any market move over here. Dollar is trading off, though. Dollar is trading down over here, and that is putting further pressure on the dollar. That's why we're seeing Australian dollar and all other dollar pairs trading up. But the next most important thing today, market's always forward-looking. Market's always forward-looking is going to be the London close. So everyone watch out for that. Yeah, I'm obviously not a fan of the efficient market theory. Of course, nothing's priced in, right? Otherwise, people would not be able to make money in the markets. All right, let's keep going. Let's see what's going on over here. Watching the dollar intently and closely. If it comes back down and it starts taking out low of overnight. At that point, getting below the resistance at 97.90. And it looks like at that point, we're going to see a resumption further down. I don't keep an eye on the VIX at all. There's no need to. I follow the markets, right? By how the markets are trading, I'm able to know how the VIX is doing. So there's no need. The VIX doesn't give me an edge that I use. Markets looking forward. How forward are they looking, right? Well, that's a good question. I personally, I'm obviously a swing trader. I'm focusing in on the 8-hour time frame and what's in front of me. That's where I could do a good job at being able to see what's going on. So as a swing trader, the next thing I'm looking forward to is the London close. All right, let's keep going. We don't know if the dollar is going to keep going up or down. That's for sure. We're watching the support here at 97.90. Trading below that, this thing could get ugly. No question about that. Australian dollar, US dollar, really, really taking advantage here of this weakness. Up already 1.2% on the day. That's pretty hard. Pound challenging this area right now. You're seeing that dollar weakness across the board. Yeah. I was looking at I've heard always too that they claim is a good word that you used over there when you said that they claim that the US equity markets are 6 to 9 months looking forward. If that was the case, I don't think they would be trading as high as they are right now. You know, I personally don't think so. All right. Yeah, pound US dollars on the move again. We've only been 10 minutes in. I'm watching. I'm not yet buying into a move. If the DXY breaks down here though, right, it could accelerate going into the London close. There's no question about that. There's no question about that. What's gold doing now? Unfortunate. Here we go. We're testing the 1735. Gold traders taking above this level is very, very bullish for gold. What's silver doing? Up 1.8 on the day. Silver is keying off as well too. Interesting. Let the dust settle though. Let the dust settle. All right, there's a lot of pairs we need to get into. Australian dollar, Japanese yen. This looks really good. Not right now in this session. And also realize you're looking at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 up bars in a row. But this is setting up. There's no question this current mood could continue. The market is really shaking off everything. If we come down over here later in the week and we test this, this is the trade that I like if we continue to see risk on. Now, S&P. Challenging that upper resistance over here. My mouth will fall to the floor if we go ahead and we break out above this trend line and then come up and test the high. We'll see. WTI definitely looks like the possibility here of a nice rejection here of this trend line as we've made lower lows off of it. This looks like a place, in my opinion, to take the first possible poke at a short here on the US dollar, Japanese yen. Why? Because you know you're wrong. You know where you're wrong, right? Which is only a dollar above where we are right now. And going into the closest bit of support, you have a nice risk to reward ratio. It looks pretty good over there. All right. So checking back on the dollar right now. Dollar on the verge here. Dollar is definitely in play. S&P backing off a little bit. Again, we're going to wait. We don't want to buy that initial market reaction. S&P traders have a clear indication today of what they're looking for. It's real simple. You could see over here this trend line, and then over here this trend line as well. We're consolidating between the two right now, and a break to the upside or downside will lead to the next leg on the S&P. All right. Australian dollar, US dollar. Not going to be able to give an entry today during this session. This is going high on my watch list. I want to see what happens today. I want to see what happens today with the DXY, whether or not it's able to maintain or it's going to lose this 97.90 support level over here. Canadian dollar, Japanese yen is a little bit tricky right now at this moment, and that's because look at that, taking out this strong resistance. Is that an uptrend or a downtrend though? Right? You don't have really strong resistance all the way up here. I would say somewhere around 79.30. Let's draw that in. Thank you for that. I have to agree with you. And I love when the kids get up and get to breakfast, and I could hear them in the background as well. Absolutely love that. Euro Japanese yen is also very much on the watch list. I'm going to check out my watch list right now with you all. I have this as green because I had orders placed on that Friday. Those were canceled. But still going, I'll be looking for the long side over there. Euro Japanese yen, this is a very nice area over here. You could see this resistance level, these two resistance levels that we've traded above and touched. Trading below that today might open up an opportunity to go ahead and short the Euro Japanese yen today. That's interesting. Euro remains strong versus the dollar. The dollar remains very weak. I'm looking for that opportunity. Yeah, Patrick, on what instrument are you talking about? Because if you're talking about the equities, I have to admit, I have the same with you, even though I'm trying to be open. As we reach this far above, though, as we're towards the top of this channel we're in right now, I lose my look to buy the dip here bias, right? I don't want to be trading up here. The risk reward is not there at all. I don't like to look at the DAX, but we'll look at it right now for any Europeans in here with pleasure. And the reason I don't like to look at it is just very messy. Well, that's interesting. Seeing the DAX come off today. Trying to see where the closest area of strong support is. You could tell me what you're looking at. Another holiday in Europe. We had one last Monday over in the UK. Yeah. So if anyone uses Twitter and you probably search Raoul Pal IBEX, he tweeted about it over the weekend. You might want to check that out. Tesla breaking above the resistance. Yeah, the only play to short Tesla, and by the way, this is a huge momentum play today, would be if we took out the low. If we took out the low today, that would be a bad sign. But I can't imagine. And this is obviously actually Tesla's in play right now. If this trades above this resistance here, turns it into support. We've spoke about that. That's then the opportunity to look for a long, and maybe we have a chance of challenging all-time highs. I think this is an emotional play right now, coming off the back of the successful launch over the weekend. Jordan, why don't you trade off the DXY as opposed to the 8-hour if you can make money watching the index versus other markets? I don't have an opportunity to trade the DXY. I don't have an avenue for doing that. And I traded it on the cross pairs. Here we go. We are now breaking down here, testing the 97.90. This is definitely looking like, oh, that's beautiful. Let's look at this intraday right now. Let's jump down to the 1 hour time frame. Here we go. S&P not following through yet right now, though. So Anonymous is asking what news events are relevant for the markets when even worse events are bought. Well, not before the crisis also, the market wasn't paying attention to things like non-farm payrolls. What it was paying attention to was central banks and interest rate decisions. Those began, listen, the market is always flowing, ebbing, flowing, evolving, and you have to pay attention to what the market is focused in on right now. Right now, the market is keying off central bank stimulus, right? Markets looking that first of all, right now, you notice that the Fed is tapering their QE purchases, right? Is the market soon going to be reacting to that? Will that push the market down? And will the market be begging for more stimulus? Will we then see that coming from the government, from the US government? Market is more focused right now on interest rates and QE and stimulus. It's not really focused day to day on manufacturing prints or services or anything like that. But you need to keep watching those events for when the market does start focusing on them again. Yeah, Dan, that's really, 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 really great comment and insight, right? How is the market bidding up Tesla right now? I wish I had a look right now at Robinhood and could see the amount of positions today taken in Tesla, and right, buying Tesla because another company had a successful event really does not make too much sense. All right, DXY is maintaining its bid. S&P also is doing the same thing, but watch out. The next 40 minutes, we're going to see some volatile trading coming into the London close. I'm sure of it. Watch out for it. This out on the move. I mean, could you can't be a buyer up here, right? This is definitely overbought. Now, overbought could remain overbought. It could even remain overbought enough to take out this resistance over here at 1.2486, right? It's a question then if it could hold it, right? Again, once we get above that resistance up there, then that becomes attractive. Right now, you can't chase after price. You can't chase after in a move that's extended that far and that overbought. Now, could the dollar break down here and over the next 40 minutes do a lot of technical damage? 100%. You could see a big move. There's no question about that. It looks like to me that the Australian dollar, the pound, they are doing really well versus the dollar in this situation, and that could definitely continue. Patrick, that's really smart of you, by the way. That's really smart right now watching as there's no trade to go ahead and then step away. So I really applaud that. And that's a great example for everyone. Have a wonderful day. Does the bear have any? So yeah, the bear has a lot of play left in it. It depends what market you're looking at also. There's a huge bear market going on in oil right now. That's in play. That's going to continue. There's no question this this is probably not going to be over until US shale companies actually are insolvent. right? Until it really destroys the credit market. We're going to see further downside here. It's a question of, is this a place to lean in, or are we going to be able to go ahead and trade up higher, close this gap, maybe into stronger resistance? BV, thank you so much. Shane, I focus in on, the S&P, right? Gold, Bitcoin, now starting to focus in more on silver and all of the FX pairs. It's the markets I trade, I believe, are not only the best, but offer the best opportunity. Do you think the euro, now are you talking about the euro as a currency, or are you talking about the EU? Lester, have a beautiful day. Thank you. Thank you very much. So the EU, I think, is in grave jeopardy. And I think I'm actually this week, I have some information I would like to go over discussing exactly the longer term Euro US dollar chart, the question of the EU in general. But listen, it's going to be, I think we're going to see significantly lower lows on the euro. Thursday will be a big day. Thursday will be a big day. Here we go now. We have the S&P continuing up. We have the S&P now challenging or getting close to challenging this trend line over here. That will be an interesting place to watch it. Eric, I wonder if Bitcoin will go back down to 85, 82. I wonder. Jose, that's a really good question for discussion. And is this taking too long for an upside move on Bitcoin? Actually, I look at that the other way around. Are the sellers actually able to take advantage of this opportunity? And that opportunity is after the halving, and you see the miner rewards reduce, and therefore you see miners that are capitulating. They're no longer able to stay in the game. It's a very competitive game, Bitcoin mining. And when you don't have low cost of electricity or very efficient equipment, you can't stay and compete against those that do. And therefore, you have to leave the game. And when you leave the game, what happens? You have obligations you need to meet. You got to go ahead and sell your reserves. You got to pay investors to do that. There's selling pressure. So the sellers are running out of time here to take advantage of this situation. And actually the buyers, by showing their resilience, I believe, have the edge on this. I'm not sure we looked at the pound Japanese yen today. That's a little strange. Let's take a look at it. Let's start by taking a step back for a second. And then we're seeing, first of all, this, I see over here a left shoulder, a right shoulder. I see the head over there, and then you can see that trend line over here, right? So this was the breakout, the retest, and that's a beautiful move that I was not paying attention to. That's just absolute beauty. So we're coming right now to where the target would be on this breakout right now, and that's into that resistance. And you could see us coming up into that resistance, shortly. This is something that I'm going to be watching in the sessions ahead. Not yet, not today. As soon as tomorrow, maybe. This pair looks nice. Coming into this strong area of resistance. You saw the head and shoulders we just looked at. That's coming to its target. It's up towards this resistance. Whether or not the pound Japanese yen will be the pair to play at that time, I think we're going to see a big wave of setups coming into the market within the next 2 days, and there's going to be lots of opportunity. And then it's be a question of where we look for that opportunity. If, for example, the dollar holds, which it's on jeopardy of obviously not doing right now, if it does hold, and if it's able to reverse back into this channel, right, then I have to look at where's the opportunity. Is it on the pound US dollar, or is it on the pound Japanese yen? Right now, I don't know, but I definitely think that we're going to see some big waves coming into the market over the next 2 days. Can we end on the DXY? Well, not ending the session right now. I'm going through the close over here, and all right, Ryan, I'll definitely check that out for you.
So what happened with Modera? They were based, I mean, insiders basically sold, right? I'm just looking at this from a pure TA perspective over here. All right, let's look at the first start on the weekly. I'll tell you what this looks like to me. I'll be very, very, very clear. This looks like a lot of volatility, not a lot of clarity whatsoever. This looks like something that I avoid all day long. It's a pure speculative play. It's trading too volatile right now. And contrary to popular belief, traders are not attracted to volatility. Traders are attracted to clarity, right? You want to go for quote unquote with a smile because nothing's easy, but easy money, something that is offering just higher probability, and stay away. Absolutely. Thank you. Have a beautiful day, Mr. Klatt. Yeah, there you go. Crypto Cat, man. Thank you. Thank you, brother. Thank you for that. Yeah, I mean, that's interesting. But again, that's listen, there will come a point in your trading. There will come a point in your trading where all you want to do is stick with what works, because that's at the end of the day how you make a living, right? And that means, you have to get it out of your system, and it's gambling, right? It's gambling. Taking a straddle here, if you're feeling lucky, like it's not a high probability setup, right? And money capital is too precious to waste, because then you have to build back up that capital in order to work forward again. So the best thing you could do or look for is staying where there's further clarity, staying away, avoiding where there's noise and messiness. Shout out to London, UK today. Ooh, that looks pretty beautiful. And again, part of that clarity is not looking to pick tops, right? It's not looking to pick tops, right? So, is there a trade over here? No way. There's no trade whatsoever. Jose, love that London today. So much support over there. Look, this is a strong, extraordinarily strong uptrend. In an uptrend, you can only look to buy off support. You're not remotely close to any type of support if you're holding long. And until the markets roll over, you want to keep holding, right? Absolutely. Thank you, Lee. Absolutely. Look at all the London traders rocking it today. DXY is so far holding it. This is my main focus today. This is my main focus. And then watching here as we come up over here to this interesting area of resistance. That's awesome, Tom. Lots of love your way, guys. Thank you for that. Yeah, let's look at that right now, Greg. For sure, we could look at that. Because we have a little time right now. Lang, enjoying the holiday. So where can we see over this? Let's look at the daily time frame first of all, to step back because it's very noisy over here. Canadian dollar, New Zealand dollar. I'm generally not a fan of trading two currencies like this together. I'm looking at all of this volatility, which seems to be settling down right now. Who wanted to look at this? Greg. Patrick, we'll go back to that question as soon as we take a look at this here. Greg, what are you looking at? over here when you look at, or why you're attracted to the Canadian dollar, New Zealand dollar. If risk off continues, such as it is, for sure the New Zealand dollar will continue its climb. You know, if this is kind of an uptrend versus the Canadian dollar. Canadian dollar is such a weak play that I can't see taking longs against the Canadian dollar, even versus the New Zealand dollar. If you were looking to that, really, where's the strong support? I'd say it's down lower, right around 1.154, up until maybe the 1.159 area. That would be an area possibly to look for a turnaround. You could also see like this lower line over here. That's right there. The market's focused in on that right now. Buying off of that with a horizontal area around 1.6 maybe, but I don't think so. So Patrick, did the swamp lines weaken the dollar? That's the question of the day. That's the question of the day. Let's look at the 8-hour first, then we'll go back to that. That's a really good thought-provoking question. So on the 8-hour, you see a report test of 1.673. So are you looking at that as resistance, 1.673? I see a little bit of resistance up in that area. It's not really clear. So I see stronger resistance. Yeah, right around you where you're looking. No, a little higher, about 10 pips higher, 1.6787. I'm focused in over here, the resistance. Right there, the resistance. Right there, it's support. And then again, over here, it's support. So I see right around 1697 where you spiked into and are now trading back down. So that's a potential short signal right here, right now, taking out the low over there after testing that resistance. I'll zoom in and show you a second, Greg. So this level is definitely a level I could find. We peaked into it during London and now resuming down. If we take out the lower low, that's a possible short into this trend line. The risk is about 1-to-1. I don't like the trade at all. I would stay away from it. I don't like the risk to reward, and it looks like that this trend line will hold. It's pretty strong, at least. I wouldn't expect that to break. So as far as the swamp lines, if you look at the Australian dollar, US dollar, by the way, DXY is still maintaining, hanging on for dear life. Looking at the Australian dollar, US dollar, this is the day right here where the swap line was opened up directly to the Australian central bank. Was it the swamp lines themselves that had the effect on weakening the dollar at this point? Or was it more of a, psychological effect? Because the central banking is all about trust, right? So the fact that these direct swap lines were offered up, that helped relieve the pressure. It helped definitely 100% stop the dollar shortages for the near term, right? When I say near term, what do I mean by that? So near term is, Dinkar, we'll look at that for sure again. Dinkar, we'll look at that for sure. When I say near term, all those dollars being borrowed by those swamp lines need to be paid back in what? Dollars. All right. So those are temporary loans. It does not fix the situation. Is the dollar shortage going to rear its head again at some point in the future? Yeah, there's no question about it. There's no question about it. Nothing has been fixed. It's a temporary Band-Aid. Is that the cause of why we're seeing the weak dollar now? Listen, if you follow Brent Johnson, who most of you do, and are familiar with the dollar milkshake theory, Brent Johnson right now is looking at the dollar trading at 98, and he's like, that's extraordinarily strong, right? He considers basically anything above 80 to be a strong dollar that's wreaking havoc on the financial system, right? Now, of course, he is expecting there will come a time when we take out, this 103 area and then go ahead and push on higher and higher. But basically what he's saying is because the world is short $14 trillion, because all of those dollars need to be paid back plus interest
that the dollar is strong over here. It's wrecking havoc, and we're going to see the consequences later on. Now we're not using that type of time frame. We're swing traders. We're looking at what's happening day to day, right? We're looking at what's happening week to week, and what we see is that possibly over here the dollar could be on the verge of really breaking down, and we could see further dollar weakness. Because a huge move is from right over here at 98 down to 95. That's an enormous move, right? That's what we're focused in on. We're going to check out oil in 1 second. S&P right now is very easy to be looking at. You are coming up into this resistance right here. Right now, you're just trading within this tight little consolidation pattern, right? That's where you're focused in on right now. Right now, there's no trade whatsoever on the index until we break out to the upside and or downside. WTI. So Dinkar, this was the first moment that I said I like an opportunity here, right? Ever since the collapse. This was the first moment and that's called waiting it out, right? But now I see the weakness. I see the weakness because on this resistance here, 1 time, 2 time, we tried to go ahead, and those were nice trades. Both of them were nice trades, but eventually they were taken out, and now we're rolling over again in this resistance. It looks like a nice opportunity to get short here on WTI. Your risk reward is way worth it going into just this first area of support. I have not been trading oil ever since we broke down below $14. $14.50 was my target on oil going back to the start of the year, and once we got below there, I've not traded oil since. Yeah, I don't trade over lunch, and I'm not going to. You know what? Because again, I don't know that retail traders are the ones propping up the market. Philip, we looked at that over the weekend, and it looks like the Swiss Central Bank is definitely doing a lot more buying than retail traders. Yeah, let's look at both of those things. So Tesla, by the way, you got to look for a confirmation on the daily. There's still a lot of trading left over here, and it looks extremely positive that it's breaking above this resistance. If it were to close over here above this resistance, again, you don't continue chasing price. You wait for that pullback, and you wait to see if this broken resistance is flipped to support, right? And where is that area? Hold on 1 second, by the way. So you can see over here, I would say even down to where we opened up today, as long as we hold on a retest where we opened up today, that's definitely, which I would consider support. As long as we're able to test between this area over here of 868 to 858, that $10 area, and then resume off of it, that will be a place to look at long Tesla. If the US indices are continuing to go ahead and break out to the upside here, if they're going to continue up, yeah, Tesla's going to be floating along with them. Retail traders have definitely helped. They're definitely on the right side of the market. No question about that. Definitely, Duarte. Definitely. I've been inside a Tesla. I've never driven one before. I've driven inside what was the I forget. If I recently was inside an electric vehicle, a competitor to Tesla, and Tesla's got a lot of competitors now in the high end, and I felt like I felt like I went to like Mach 5, just going a few hundred yards. I felt like I went Mach 5, and you were just thrown into the back of the seat. It's not a feeling that I like. I'm not a fan of whatsoever. So by the way, looking over here at something without a swap line, Duarte, and we're looking here at the US dollar, Turkish lira. Turkish lira at the same time as the dollar shortages have alleviated, has definitely also pulled back. Listen, until there's another dollar shortage, though, I would not want to take a position that's paying. Look, I can't even look at these markets. This is not, obviously. They're not here as well. I don't look to trade exotics as all. There's simply no volume. Look at these moves. And again, that's going back to sticking with clarity. That's going back to sticking with clarity. And this is anything but clear. By the way, the question is from Patrick is how far an opportunity is out. Are you looking at your graphing time frame and then doing some calculation? So I trade all the foreign exchange on the 8-hour time frame, right? So doing my analysis this session. Hold on, I gotta get rid of something. I'm not looking to enter gold. I'll look at that in a second with you with pleasure, though. I'm doing all my analysis this session, and I'm looking for possible entries for London. I definitely enter sometimes as the New York session gets started, but all the analysis I'm doing right now is looking for setups during London. And for example, right here on the Australian dollar, US dollar, if we are rejected in this area, if we see the dollar, the DXY coming back up into that range and this reversing, and we take an entry during London, where it's making a lower low during Asia, getting below this trend line, that's a solid entry for me. I'll be looking to take that. Same thing with the euro, Japanese yen, right? Being rejected here by this resistance. I'm not going to take an entry now, and I'm not going to take it during Asia, but this continues rolling over. That's an opportunity. So I'm looking on the 8-hour time frame. I only trade during London and New York, and I stop trading the New York session as soon as the London close. Now, you could trade the last 2 hour in FX of the New York session, the last 2 hours. And those, why our few signals are profitable. You could definitely trade them. It's much easier because the amount of trades is so few for me just to avoid it. There was something I want to look at. I'm looking for it in the comments so I could get to it. The best feeling. I don't see it. Be wary up here, time of day, right? Not much is happening. Not much is happening. We're going to watch the S&P today, this afternoon, and see what it does. You have a very easy guideline and roadmap today on the S&P. It's following this consolidation here as we're making lower highs and higher lows. All right. Clarity, baby. That's today's session. Today's session is all about clarity. Low probability that retail has the juice of the coordinated global printing press Momo. So we also looked at last week, which was a really great video. We looked at last week on the S&P. We looked at the fact that the S&P is actually not following. It's following global liquidity, not the money supply. I know that a lot of traders, Fed's printing money, right? And the S&P is following that trajectory. It's actually following global liquidity, as this month, it could be sell in June. It could really be sell in June this year, because we're going to see a lot of further bankruptcies this month. Solvency is going to have an effect on liquidity. It could break to the upside or downside. I have no edge whatsoever to know whether or not. So if you're looking at the S&P 500 and you're wondering, does it break to the upside or downside? Right now, it's trading off of a lot of buy-side momentum. There's no question about that. And we're not coming into any type of heavy resistance right at the moment. So could this break to the upside? 100%. Now, if you look at this trading range that we've been in, and you could see this is the upper end and this is the lower end in this channel we've been in, we're towards the top side of that channel. And not to say that we can't break out above it, but we're towards the top side. So this could break to the upside or downside, and I don't have any edge whatsoever that could give me any indication if it'll be an upside break or a downside break. Another thing to really to be aware of is that buybacks are over. Buybacks, which propped up the market last year, are now over. And then the other thing you have to be aware of is that the Fed is really winding down the extent of this QE. What are we up to now? I think we're up to less than 5 billion a day. Not to say that's not a lot, but they continue to wind that down. How the bond market is going to react to that eventually, we need to wait and watch. So the one thing, Pierre, that you have to also think about there, though, that's a little difficult, is their earnings could be absolutely atrocious, and that gives these companies the ability to go ahead and to lower their forward guidance to an area where they could then beat it the next quarter. And if the markets are forward looking, the markets are more focused at whether or not the economy is returning to normal. And if it's returning to normal, it's then going to be looking at what the next quarter estimates are. And then perhaps we start seeing, because the third quarter in the US could be actually, you could see a lot of growth, fake growth, but you could see a lot of growth. Peter, have a beautiful day. Thanks a lot, Peter. I appreciate it. DXY here coming into the close, on the verge of breaking down. S&P being rejected so far a little bit towards this top end. Again, there's no edge here, and especially beware of time of day. There's just no edge. Now, later this afternoon, this might be completely in play. There's no question about it. This could be really in play for us. Taking advantage of that dollar, US dollar, Canadian dollar, and also the peso. Jackie, I'm really interested in going long the Australian dollar, Japanese yen too, but you look at the time of day you're doing that. You're doing that 7 minutes before London closes, and you're doing that after the pair is extremely overbought. Now, if you ever noticed that when you take trades, they go immediately against you, it's probably because you're buying into things that are overbought. During this time of day, you'll see extensions of moves. They normally are faded within 10 to 15 minutes after the close of London. Ryan, thanks a lot. I appreciate it. Ryan, I think that it's actually very volatile. I don't think it's offering any edge one way or the other. And it could go one way or the other. I don't think that you have any clarity there. Listen, make money, stick to where things are clear. Don't take the chance, right? That's not a good way to make money. It's a good way to lose money. So Ryan, really, there's, so gold came in and hit my stop and then it's keyed off. Is that what's going on? Yeah, I took profit here at 1728, right? Wasn't a bad trade, but I wish I was still in it. Where would I be looking to get back into gold? That's the good question right over here, right? DXY, first of all, trading below the 97.90 support right now. Gold closing above 1735 is very bullish. Silver is a little off its highs of the day, but as is gold. Both of them are starting to look very bullish. I don't know where my next entry would be right now on gold. It would be just waiting for further clarity. The next thing I want to see, if we close above 1735, anyone who's still holding their push-in, their position, that's really awesome. You're in a great position. However, I personally would need to wait for further consolidation to find out where's a place I could possibly look to get in. However, on silver, any sharp pullback into this broken resistance over here, either one of these two levels, and that holding, that opens up the long side. Or if silver keeps teeing off and rising, I just have to wait for it to consolidate. For right now, I'm out of both gold and silver. Young Feng Zi, thank you so much. Matt, the global liquidity, a measure of the amount of leverage derivatives on top of money supply range on fractional back inside and probably morning side, so bankers control global liquidity. I mean, Matt, did you see the video where we really got into it last week? If not, I think it was Wednesday's video where we really got into the global liquidity. And so why the money supply is being extended, that could really get clogged again. And that's what it was, right? Going back all the way to when they started the repo action last year in the fall, was that the system got clogged, meaning people aren't holding on to whatever liquidity they have. If we start seeing bankruptcies, that could really send a shock through the system. The worst thing that could happen would be actually if the shale system goes under. That could really affect the credit market. If that happens again, there's going to be some really adverse effects to global liquidity. So it's there's no question that what they'll do again in response to that will be what? Further stimulus, further expansion of the balance sheet to go ahead and try and fix that. And they'll keep doing that until it breaks. I don't have, Garg, I don't have any type of chart. If you look again at Wednesday's video, I said that I don't have access to it. It's on Bloomberg. Yeah, Benjamin, I agree. It's spiraling out of control. I haven't looked at what's happened in the last, today, what's going on with the riots. But listen, we can't fight the tape at the end of the day. That's all, Jackie. That's all. That's something that's something, if you incorporate into your trading, is going to make a huge difference going forward. A huge difference. Yeah, there's no question. Well, we're not seeing a nice move off of it. Look, until today, my whole view on WTI is that until we close this gap and or trade just above it, I'm not interested in it. However, I'm not going to fight the tape. It looked like a nice setup. Again, with the risk to reward coming back just into this first area of support is already a really nice trade. Greater than 1 to 3. And that's just the first area of support. Take that out, go back down towards, testing 28.5. It's a beautiful trade. There's opportunity there. Best opportunity I saw all day. Absolutely, June 12th, 1776. Nope. He's absolutely right about that. But again, interesting discussion going on right now about how all of this expansion of the Fed's balance sheet could only cause deflation. We're going to look at that later today, this afternoon. Patrick, thanks for being here. Everyone, I hope you have a beautiful day. Thanks for spending this time together. Thanks for all the insight. Yep, DXY just made a new low over here. It's looking pretty bad. I think so, Cameron. Yeah,
let's look at that. Let's look at the Canadian dollar, Japanese yen for sure. You could see that this is the next area. Let me come back to you. You could see this area over here. This was all support, right? This area right there of 79.13 looks to be like the next area of resistance on the Canadian dollar, Japanese yen. Isan, no way. Looking forward to it. Thank you. Glad to be back. Glad to be back. You know, Monday is kind of normally a day for me of really like getting situated. And Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, a lot of the setups happening. It's going to be a big wave coming into the markets, maybe even tonight, if not tomorrow. Just want to be there. The best trade today for me looked like WTI. I stood aside. I didn't take it. I kind of was more focused on here what happened with the dollar. Deflation, then inflation. That's absolutely true. And that happens overnight, right? That's what's the tricky part about it. What will work in a deflationary type environment, as soon as inflation hits, and inflation will just go like a fire that's just lit off of gasoline, all of a sudden flare up. And thanks, Isan. Cameron, have a beautiful day. Thank you for that. Will, thanks, man. Jason, you got it. Have a beautiful day, everyone. Have a beautiful day, and I'll talk to you later.